Good day, sir. I am Taliba Safria from BSED English 1B. This video is all about language learning and language acquisition in early childhood. Here are some questions to be followed. First, what does the title mean about the entire article? The title means the childhood ways of learning acquisition and how it develops in early periods of time. Second, what does the author's idea about infants as social beings? The author's idea of infants as social beings are that newborns are capable of imitating facial expressions from the earliest days. They started to connect and collect information from their caregivers as the baby born as social creatures. Questions number 3. What is the relationship between the caretaker and the infant in language development? The relationship between the caretaker and the infants is the caretaker is the one who is responsible to influence the language development of a child. The caretaker's dynamic to the child's language acquisitions as they are the ones who can provide proper learning of a child. Questions number 4. What is the purpose of the article that for you is very important in our lives? Do you consider the article applicable to the Filipino environment? For me, the important purpose of the article is that by interacting, we acquire the process of language acquisition very well. It all makes other learning possible to know other language skills. We need to interact with other people throughout our lives as one main development duty in childhood. And I reflect on this article that applies to our environment as a Filipino, and I perceive this incident to my sister's children as they grew with us. Now, question number 5. What is the transformation model of language acquisition? Can we categorize this as historical or modern theory of language acquisition? What are critical issues that arrive in the article? Do you agree or disagree on these issues? Based on Chomsky-Skinner's verbal behavior, he firstly argued that a traditional and strict stimulus reinforcement model of language acquisition could not account for how a child attains in understandings of notions of grammar that makes perfect linguistic adherence possible. So, questions number 6. What is the difference between the theory of the grammar and theory of language in use? Children, as I've observed, are very good at imitating. In that, they always imitate what their parents tend to say or what they perceive to others. This is why what we as an adult influence them mainly. We should be a good model to them so they grow healthy mentally and emotionally. 7. What are the forms of linguistic behavior being discussed in the article? Give examples of these forms. The grammatical theory is a system of rules which manages the productions in use utterances in a given language. These procedures apply the sound as well as meaning and include componential subsets such as those about phonology, morphology, and syntax. Theory of language is a topic from the philosophy of language. And theoretical linguistics, it has a goal answering the questions like what is a language? Why the language have properties they have? Or the origin of the language itself. Questions number 8. What are the forms of linguistic behavior being discussed in the article? Give examples of this form. The mounting evidence suggests that the infant under the age of 1 year acts in a socializing fashion toward its caretakers. The infant starts life as a potential social organism. He can see, hear, smell, feel the heat, cold, and even pain. Equipped with these abilities, the infant behaves social towards others. These behaviors in turn evoke socializing behaviors from the caretaker who acts in ways that produce social responses from others. When the infants reach 2 months, he can follow others with their eyes. My example of this is my father tend to play my infant sister before. He holds red clothes above the eye of the infants, and her eyes follow the direction of the clothes. The infant smile and cries are rewarded and bring attention from caretakers. The socializing behavior of an infant produces profound economic, political, and social psychological alteration in the world of the caretakers. The infant alters the identities of the parents, leading them to view themselves as a caretaker. So questions number 9. Why is it important to give feedback to a stimulus of a child? It is important. Providing feedback means giving a child an explanation of what they are doing correctly and incorrectly, with the focus of the feedback on what the child is doing right. It is most productive to a child learning when they are provided with an explanation as to what is accurate and inaccurate about their work. The realizations aspect will develop and it will serve them in a near future. Number 10, discuss different models of language acquisition found in the article. Optimal theory, the basic idea of optimality theoric approach to infant language acquisition in that infant begin with one constraint ranking and just hierarchy as they develop, resulting in what should be an adult grammar. Optimal theory ties in with this the idea of universal grammar and a model of the social act with which itself embedded in a universal of linguistic discourse will be presented. Questions number 11. What is the theory of language acquisition found in your module? Does the article belong to? Why do you think this fall in category? A theory of language and a language acquisition must be more than a theory of the grammar of a given language. It must be a theory of language and use. It must be able to account for how the infant acquires and improvises and utilizes the linguistic symbols, meanings, and utterances it receives. Questions number 12, the last questions. Give 3 realizations that you get from the article. So my realizations from the article is, number 1, interaction is important throughout our lives. Number 2, it is destined to signify to a young child with all the need to become a proficient speaker. And finally, we should be a good influencer to our infants for them to grow well and be capable of doing things right in their future. That's all, and thank you for watching my video, sir.